Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, let's talk about Black Panther, or Lord Windgrace. Anyway, he is exactly what I had been waiting for. I got obviously, all the commander decks the day they came out. It's taken me this long. I picked up the last card for it yesterday, or day before. I don't know. Anyway, this is their quote, land matters general, and to be honest with you, I may never cast him. Yeah, the +2, you discard a land and draw two. Let's face it, that's what we're going to do. So that's good, and that may be the only way we ever use it. Yeah, I guess if you use it enough, you can get some removal out of the deal. You can get some lands back. Anyway, I want to go back to the last card I got for the deck. It's what I traded for a couple days ago. Now, I want to go back to Shadows over Innistrad here, because when the Gitrog monster came out, I had this idea. And I had the idea for this deck, only not so much. What I tried to do was I tried to convince all of the modern players at the shop to build this deck. And what this deck is, I was like, all right. The Gitrog monster. They're like, 5 mana, 6/6 death touch. I'm listening. I was like, okay, the Gitrog monster and Seismic Assault. And they're like, hold on, isn't Seismic Assault red, red, red? Yeah. But look at the interaction. How awesome it is. You discard a land to Seismic Assault to shock something, and then it's a land going to the graveyard, so you draw another card. You play like 4 of each of those and like 52 lands, and it's awesome. You got all your utility lands and stuff like that, and they all looked at me and like, they're like, yeah, but we're gonna die. Anyway, so obviously it didn't work. I couldn't get anybody on board to build modern with it. So finally Lord Windgrace came along, and I know there are a lot of cards. There's a ton of ways to build Lord Windgrace. He is absolutely amazing. You will not find Omnasty in here. Some people call him Angry Omnath. It's more like Omnasty. But this combo was what I went around, and then from there I just kind of, I don't know, went off the rails. Uh, One thing that really works, a lot of you may remember from decks from the past, Prosperous Bloom. Squander Resources fits right in. You sack a land to get the mana. Well, first you're going to tap it for the mana, and then sack it for the mana, and then draw a card to replace it because the Gitrog's in play. And then if you've got Windgrace, you can put it back. Amazing. What you did was you played Squander Resources to get your Cadaverous Bloom out. By the way, at one time, all this was standard together. It was sick. It's like they built the deck and spread it apart in one block. But you play Caddy Bloom to, this is ramp. This is serious ramp here. You just exile cards for double black or double green. And then you use the Squander Resources to sack all your lands to Natural Balance. To go get 5 more, you put them into play, you tap them, you sack them. That's 10 mana off of this 4 mana spell. Now, in our format here, we've got, whoa. If you draw this early, it ramps everybody up. Now, granted, you're getting a bigger advantage off of getting the lands. If you draw it late, whoa. This is an absolute beating on a stick if you draw it on turn 12. It cuts everybody's lands down to 5. Now, speaking of ramp, let's start with our ramp. I've got some things in here that you may not consider ramp, but I do. Soul Ring is the only artifact source in the deck. It was too good not to play, but all of the other ramp is stuff like, it's Cultivate and Harrow Explosive Veg, Far Wanderings, Nature's Lore. I am running Circuitous Route, however you want to say it, because I am obviously playing with gates. Even so far as the Elf Twins, Azusa. Now, Scourge Familiar is, yes, I've got it with the ramp category on purpose, even though it's 5 mana. So it's 5 mana, but you're going to choose and discard a land. See what we did there? You discard any card to get the black mana. But if you discard a land and get Rogs out, you're drawing a card and getting the black mana. Rhino Filth is kind of a one-shot, just this turn squander. Well, it's not really squander resources. It's just to get black mana. I didn't use Bubbling Muck because we don't have enough, swamps in the deck. Do have crop rotation because it's crop rotation, and you sack a land to go get a land, and both of these things are beneficial to get Rog. Realms Uncharted as well. Hey. Perfect, no problem. 4 lands, I'm going to go get 4 lands. And it doesn't matter which 2 I get, because the other 2 are going to go to my yard, and I'm going to draw some cards. Like, I don't know. Let's see if I can... Most of what I have here is... Let's see, what would I get? Assuming I had all my choices. I'd be like, okay, there's 1 land. 2 lands, because Dakmor Salvage with Get Rog is busted in pieces. Mirrored Landscape, and then, probably a Strip Mine. So it doesn't matter which 2 you give me. I'm going to get them all. Mana Flare, for obvious reasons, because we want to. And here again, this helps the table. So a lot of people will kind of steer away from, swinging at you or playing something that's going to get rid of the Mana Flare. But the amount of mana that we are playing, it benefits us way more, especially if you've already gotten off your Boundless Realms. Now, I guess we're going to move into the next category, card draw-ish, maybe. Rites of Flourishing, it's good. It's double meat, double cheese. Couldn't do it without a Horn of Greed. I mean, just play a land, draw a card. Here again, it looks friendly enough. Everybody gets it. You just get more. Now, Diabolic Tutor is kind of basic. Demonic Collusion here is awesome. Now, if you'll notice, the list is on Tapped Out. I cannot remember. What are we running? 40-something lands? Whoa. So, assuming Get Rog's out, Demonic Collusion doesn't have a downside to buyback. It's a buyback tutor. You discard 2 cards. So you're going to discard probably 2 lands and probably draw 2 cards and tutor. Stone cold busted. Now, Diabolic Revelation, if you got enough mana, you just go and get, I don't know, pick your hand out. That seems decent. Worldly Tutor, of course, in there just to go get the Get Rog. Doom Whisper. I'm trying Doom Whisper out here because, he is a beater. Flying, trample, 6/6 for 5 mana with no downside whatsoever. You Surveil, which there's some added value there, especially if you're ditching lands. So, let's see what we got here. We're going to jump into creatures. We got the Ramanop Excavator, which is a 2/3 walking version of course, the Crucible of Worlds. Now, we want those in there bad. Because, let's face it, Azusa, Strip Mine, Crucible of Worlds, while it may be one of the more, degenerate things you can do, You don't have to lock somebody out, but you can take care of their Gaia's Cradle of Maze of Ith and all that other special lands that are ruining your day. Now, Deathrite Shaman is, man, this thing, it's like Visa. It's everywhere you want to be. You can get mana guaranteed if you don't care about that land in your yard, because you know you're going to have land in your yard. And then you've got this instant sorcery or creature thing that you can exile. Whoa. It should. I don't have to sell y'all on the value of Deathrite Shaman. Y'all know. Rampaging Baloth is in there because, sometimes you just need to make a field full of beaters. Same way with Avengers in the card. Those are just kind of, those are gimmies in the landfall. I like it because the Avenger will put counters, the landfall trigger from, it says put a +1/+1 counter on each plant. So, yeah. Vine Crasher. Number of land cards in all graveyards. Like I said, if you've got your strip mine Crucible mine, is that what we're calling it? It doesn't flow. Anyway, if you've got that going, sky's the limit. I left in the Crash of Rhino Beetles because, it's a 15/15 trample. Let's face it, it's a 15/15 trample in this particular deck. And then, of course, the Nesting Dragon. We do have, not a whole lot of flying, so it's a really, really decent option. Now, Mirage Mirror, here again, whatever you want it to be. I have won games with this, and I have lost games to it, and I'm sure you have too. This thing is just, I don't know how this is not a gazillion dollars. Well, probably because it's current, but I don't know. I think I give $4 for this pre-release version, like last week or week before. But anyway, it's really good. I mean, now, Zuran Orb does not, I've got it in there because if you can play, if you've got Azusa or Min and Din, and this is a problem that I run into in just my straight Azusa deck, is when you've got her out there and you can't make those land drops, it is a feel bad moment. You feel like you're missing value when you have 4 possible land drops or 5 and you can't make them. Now, but if you've got your Crucible out and a Zuran Orb, you can make them land drops. You can get them landfall triggers, and consequently gain a little bit of life or a lot of bit of life in the process. Treasured Find, I'm running simply because I don't have another regrowth. This goes and gets your Gitrog after they killed it. Let's face it, that's what it's for. Scape Shift, just, man. It gets any land. And like I said, if you've got your Crucible out, there's no downside to it because you can just keep on doing it. And it's a ton of landfall triggers all at once. Now, Destructive Flow is a card. I don't know if a lot of people are playing this in this style deck, because at first glance, it's like, but that hits everybody. Yes, it does hit everybody. Yes, it will make people sack non-basic lands, and there are some decks that it just won't have an effect on if they're playing monocolor and just happen to draw basics and not their Emira or Urborg or whatever. Yeah, it's what. But this actually enables you to get. You don't have to sacrifice a land. You get to sacrifice a land. See, here again, this is part of just me believing that there's no such thing as a downside to a card. Every downside in a Magic card, we have enough game pieces to make it an upside. Destructive Flow has no downside in this particular deck. If you've got your Gitrog out, yeah, I'll sack a land and draw a card, and then to be able to replay that land for my, it just enables the flow of the deck. But we've got problems, because our problems are our opponents are also trying to win. So we've got to have a little bit of removal. Of course, we're running the Putrefy. That the guild kit gave us the reprint for Abrupt Decay, which, by the way, I love the set symbols on that thing. There's 5 different set symbols, and they use the dang guild symbol. How awesome is that? Now, yes, Abrupt Decay is not everything we want it to be in Commander, because there's a lot of high casting cost stuff. But there is a ton of low casting cost stuff that we want to nuke too. Assassin's Trophy just handles it. I mean, it just handles it. Now, I think for this deck, the card could be better if it said destroy target permanent, period. I would love to be able to blow up my own thing. Because if I could... Never mind, there's no sense in wondering what if, because it's not. Windgrace's Judgment kind of has to be in there for his namesake, and because it's ballin'. Just, I mean, this is a... Granted, everybody's only losing 1, but this is essentially a 1 for 3 or 1 for 4 or 1 for however many. Kind of like Decimate. I'm just going to kill some things. Y'all know I have a fondness for Naturalize just because, you know, it's so versatile and it is ridiculously cheap. We all know that. And then our good old blanket catch-all to Mr. Black Sun Zenith. Let's see if I can zoom this out a little bit. I'm getting close here. We got a ton of lands to talk about. Oh, but you know what we haven't talked about yet? We haven't talked about a way to win the game. Well, that seems kind of important. Worm Harvest, we can token them out. Which is, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot. Worm Harvest is one of the beautiful cards because it just feeds itself. And it, you know, yes, it was in this deck from Wizards, and I'm kind of proud of that. But we're also going to do the not so creative wins, you know, Exsanguinate and Torment of Hellfire, because we're going to generate a ton of mana. Now, speaking of mana, what was it? How many decks ago I started to go through the non-basic lands? I'm going to roll through just the colored duels first. Before any of the... Well, actually, most of it is. We have Shivan Oasis, Kazandu Refuge, Rootbound Crag, Timber Gorge, Rugged Highlands, Stomping Ground, Woodland Cemetery, the other refuge, Sulphurous Springs, which, by the way, the Ice Age art for Sulphur Springs is amazing. I wish I had another Ice Age one. It's got this little, like, demon orc looking thing in, like, a hot tub of lava. It's sweet. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Dragon Skull Summit, Luxury Suite. Okay, let's talk about Battle Bond lands, because these things, man, if they don't get a reprint, these jokers are going to be insane. But here's the thing. It can only be reprinted in... Because obviously it's not in UMA. And we're not getting another master set for a while. I'm sure we'll have the draft innovation slot. You know, it was Conspiracy, and then this year it was Battle Bond. Maybe they've got Battle Bond 2 in the works. I don't know. And if they do, are they going to use the enemy colors? Who knows? But these things, if they don't get a reprint, people like us will cause these things to skyrocket. These will be $20, $30 a piece before you know it, because they're the perfect land for EDH. Anyway. Guildgate and Orchard. Another Guildgate, a Carnum, the Rot Farm, you know, all about that bounce land. Overgrown Tomb, Savage Lands. Rupture Spire and Transguild Promenader. Pretty much the same card, kind of like Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse. Now, Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse have a lot of stigma behind them because a lot of people say you shouldn't run them. But in this deck where you are rewarded for putting lands into play and rewarded for putting lands in the graveyard, this is really good. If I had any appropriate fetches, this is probably where they would be. Have the last Guild Gate. I'm only running one cycle land. There is no super secret tech to it. It's just this was the one I had. I've apparently out of all the others. I need to. I believe my LGS has just a brick of them. I just need to buy them all and be done with it. And our last card is, of course, Warp Landscape because of the same reason. And all of the rest are basic lands. Now, I'll be honest. I'll show you my basic. This is probably my favorite swamp ever because, I don't know, I've always had a soft spot in my heart for John Avon art. Jung Park does, I mean, there's a lot of excellent artists, but that's my mountain and that's my forest because, you know, it's bolus. Even though, I mean, I don't know if it's not a forest, but I guess it's kind of like on Ravnica, we have islands that are not islands. Steam vents that are not steam or vents. Anyway, I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. I do want to give a big shout out to all my patrons and the crew at EDH Rec. Thank y'all so much. I believe yesterday was Black Friday. For me, I'm recording this the night before. Yesterday was Black Friday, so... Oh yeah, that's why I did the black deck. I think it was all zombies. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. But right now, I think we're going to shuffle and cut. Probably cut some pie or cut some cake, but I'm definitely going to cut.